Good evening and welcome to Special Assignment. I'm Ashraf Garda. Today is World AIDS Day. And the sense is that slowly but surely the world is winning its battle in its war with HIV/AIDS. Experts agree that the antiretroviral rollout is making an impact. In fact, a UN report says worldwide deaths from AIDS are down 21% from their peak in 2005, largely due to antiretroviral treatment. However, on home turf, there is a disturbing news that unproven and sometimes harmful so-called HIV cures are being sold to desperate people. Our producer, Kobus van Staden, was sent on special assignment to KwaZulu-Natal to find out more.
This is a monument in Pietermaritzburg commemorating the war between the British and Zulu empires. Today, KwaZulu-Natal is fighting another war, South Africa's war with HIV and AIDS. KwaZulu-Natal has one of the highest infection rates in the world, and like any other war, this one has heroes and traitors. High up in an office building in Durban, these people are seeking salvation. They sit here for hours on end, some even bring their kids. Their goal, to be free of HIV. How will they get there? Through this machine, known as the hivex treatment. They say that after a few days sitting in the energy field emitted by these boxes, they're feeling better.
Yes, of course. Of course. See, too big, the difference is too big. Because I was coming without working, I haven't got no balance on my knee. Now I can stand and walk slowly.
Ngafika la ngibanjiwe ngathi ngisengifikile la ngayezwa ngiba nabo ungcono kodwa ama ARVs vele ngiyawasebenzisa ayothi ngiwayekile.
They come from all over KwaZulu-Natal, drawn by word of mouth and leaflets promising a one-stop final HIV cure. So how is the machine supposed to work? We asked Clive Harvey-Fox, the spokesperson of hivex.
It creates an energy field. Anyone coming into that energy field who might have HIV in their body, the actual protein within the virus will start interacting with that energy that is now traveling through their body. Because that vibration has been amplified, it causes the protein in the virus to start vibrating.
He says that if these people sit in the energy field emitted by the hivex machines for 30 hours, the vibration will damage the HIV virus in their bodies, so it won't be able to fix itself or replicate. He says the treatment saved his life.
I voluntarily went off my antiretroviral medication a month before I came for treatment because I really wanted to see the full impact of the treatment. I got treated and really within a few days of treatment I could feel quite a change in my body. I was being treated along with a whole lot of other people, and visibly I could watch them and see changes that were taking place in their bodies.
But does it actually work? In 2003, the University of KwaZulu-Natal did a big study about hivex, but the report was never released. One reason for the secrecy is that the study was sponsored by BAE, a major player in the arms deal.
BAE was involved in funding the 2003 trial as part of their offset program in the arms deal, and a lot of mischief has been made around that. I think some of the detractors to what we are trying to do are trying to label us as being part of a rather unsavory arms deal, which is really not the case. BAE paid for that. This treatment may have been paid for them, but their involvement in this process has been pretty minimal, and they're not involved anymore.
Special Assignment managed to get an exclusive copy of this secret report. It says that while hivex might slow down the death of cells, it doesn't increase the amount of protective white blood cells known as the CD4 count, nor does it decrease the amount of HIV in the body. The report says that hivex isn't harmful, but it also doesn't help. We asked Dr. Chris Jack, an HIV expert, about hivex.
If this particular intervention targets those proteins, then what you should have is free viral fragments within the blood cells, and then effectively that would be mopped up by the immune system. So there should be nothing. And consequently, if there is no viral pressure on the body, you should have then an increase in your CD4 count. The fact that none of this is happening suggests that the therapy itself is flawed.
More and more of his patients are starting to use hivex, and it makes him worried.
In one particular patient that I'm talking about, if you look at the CD4 and viral load, from having stopped antiretrovirals and been onto this radio wave therapy, the viral load certainly increased substantially from its previous undetectable level, and the CD4 dropped. So for me, as a physician, that would be a marker of impending opportunistic infections.
Meanwhile, after undergoing treatment, Clive started feeling ill again.
The treatment that I'd had not been successful, and I needed to go back onto antiretrovirals, which I did. Of the approximately 1,100 people who we've treated, I would estimate that we've been successful with maybe 95% plus of those people. So there's a small group of people where we haven't been successful. All of us had fourth generation HIV, which is one of the modern strains of HIV that has really developed out of mutation. And fourth generation HIV has a completely different protein constituency to all the others, and that's why the treatment hadn't been effective.
Even though his test results show that he's at risk of full-blown AIDS, he feels the treatment is still helping.
The doctor who was treating me at that stage looked at my blood results where my CD4 count had dropped to 72 and my viral load had gone up to nearly 900,000. And he said, "There's something I'm not understanding here." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "You should really be quite ill, and you're not."
He is still convinced hivex will eventually cure him of HIV.
We're expecting the one surviving Russian inventor to be in South Africa within the week. He reckons he's cracked the way to treat fourth generation HIV as well, and I'm hoping that my days of HIV are hopefully going to be drawing to a close.
All we can say about hivex is that it's not dangerous, and water is not dangerous either.
Meanwhile, more and more people are coming to this waiting room to sit around the hivex machines in the hope they'll be cured.
Coming up, how dodgy HIV treatments are making some people very rich.
On the wettest day of the year, we went to meet Simphiwe Zondo. The first thing you notice are the luxury cars outside his house. One of the figures most criticized by the HIV treatment community, he calls himself Dr. Zondo, but he isn't a medical doctor. He has a doctorate in theology. Yet all of these young people are studying Dr. Zondo's brand of alternative medicine. They are trained to use vitamin mixes sold by Dr. Zondo and are supposed to work at his 18 so-called wellness clinics. Most of his students live in these tents surrounding his mansion.
Anything that exists on earth was once started by someone who knew nothing about it. anything that exists. You can call skyscrapers, whatever, aeroplanes, anything that exists, including medicine, surely was started by someone who knew nothing about medicine but started it. I would say for me, this is more inborn than anything else.
His views on HIV treatment are a bit unconventional.
We check exactly what is the RDA of the body. That's what we do, first of all. So RDA is required daily allowance, intake of minerals and vitamins that the body needs. And we believe that even if the person is HIV positive, if he's got a correct RDA in the body every day, the body will be able to carry that person through.
We asked one of his students what their training is like.
From the first 6 months, it's a theory training. After 6 months, it's a practical training. The whole course I'm doing is for medicine. It's a course for 7 years, like the other medicines.
Central to their training is a mix called MMS. MMS is short for Mineral Miracle Solution. It's a supplement Zondo imports from Mexico.
I've heard about 3 people that they said they once used the MMS, but now they are okay. They are HIV negative.
In my opinion, if malaria fever can deal with a person and kill a person within a month, it's a quicker virus from the mosquito, far much more quicker and damaging more than the HIV virus. So if this guy's wellness supplement was able in the jungle to deal with his workers and finish off the malaria in them, and they were healthy within a day, wow, that guy is supposed to be asked to get into various fields and to tell people what he was doing.
However, MMS has been banned by health authorities in the United States, Canada and Mexico. The US Food and Drug Administration has said that if MMS is mixed according to its manufacturer's instructions, the results are close to industrial bleach.
I know that if that thing is poured in a cloth, it will be like bleaching it. But here's a question that I would like to ask you. Is the human body dry inside? The human body is not dry inside, it's wet. It's extremely wet. So what that thing does in the cloth is not similar as what it will do in the body. There is no way. There is no way that what it does to a cloth which is dry, it can bleach a person in the inside.
For Dr. Zondo, any criticism of his treatment is proof of a global conspiracy.
A lot of investment have been done on HIV virus by governments of the world, by big people. I remember there's a computer guy who's investing a lot of money. I'm not going to call his name. He's got a big company of software. He's investing a lot of money on these issues. They're helping us a lot. But let me ask you a question, Kopas. If you can wake up tomorrow with a dream that's in this forest down here, there is a cure for HIV, and you come up with that cure, what will happen to the stock of a man who's got a stock for 15 years of something that is just a remedy to diagnose, not to cure? Will that person allow you? The answer is simple. You won't be allowed.
These kinds of treatments are making HIV experts like Professor Yunus Musa very worried.
That, in my mind, amounts to gross negligence. The reality is that the individuals that are being punted or rather targeted for these drugs don't have the knowledge, don't have the understanding, and therefore they are easily duped by these people. The reality is that they need to demand evidence, number one, and number two, if they feel that they need to take that medication, I would encourage them not to stop the ARVs, because they're putting themselves at risk for the virus, firstly finding resistance to the drugs, and the other problem is that while they are not taking the antiretroviral drugs that we prefer them to take, their disease is going to progress. So it's exceedingly dangerous to do that.
Professor Musa feels that some of these alternative treatments are disrupting what could be South Africa's first real success against HIV and AIDS.
Actually, it is easier to treat HIV than it is to treat diabetes. It's easier to treat HIV than it is to treat hypertension. All the individual has to do is change his mindset and remember that he needs to take his drugs. I can't remember when last an individual forgot to brush his teeth. When last he forgot to wear his shoe, wear his socks, wear his underpants. All of those are important to the individual. And it is the individual that has now changed his mindset that it's important to wear your shoe when you're going to work and not your sandals. So it's all about changing your perspective. If we counsel them adequately about how important it is for these drugs to be taken regularly, the population will listen and they will understand and they will do it.
So why isn't the government cracking down? We'll get the answers right after this.
This is what the fight against HIV and AIDS looks like. Volunteers from the Treatment Action Campaign are going door to door to educate people about condoms and how to stay healthy when you're HIV positive. The point they stress over and over is the need to stay on ARVs. This province-wide campaign is planned from this office. Ntobezonke Ndlovu, the TAC's provincial coordinator, feels bad service at clinics undermines their work.
Mostly, I think it's because of the service they get from those other alternatives. Like, they won't have to wait for about 4 hours just to be seen. They're in and out in a short period of time. And it's easy. They are treated with respect. They know they come there as, those people call them clients. So you treat your client with respect. And they can easily access treatment and not be shouted at.
The Treatment Action Campaign is engaged in a war of information. They need to keep their message clear. Keep taking your ARVs. Take them at the right time. Don't stop taking them. But sometimes they come up against those who muddy the issue. We found one such figure here, close to the Inanda Dam in rural KwaZulu-Natal. This is where the Belgian HIV denialist Joachim Kool started a clinic. He calls his version of the story the Truth Action Campaign. We spoke to his collaborator, Fundani Ndlovu.
Good nutrition, even the guys that have discovered the AIDS, they've also said good nutrition can actually eradicate, can get rid of AIDS. So, which I mean, most of you guys will know that. So that's what we do. And if people eat well, we've had people, and also we've got a detox mix that we also give them to clean their body.
So what about people that are on ARVs? Do you tell them to stay on the ARVs?
We don't. We actually, all what we do, we tell people what is right. And what is right is human beings were never meant to take medication. Human beings, God created everything for mankind to be able to eat and live, not needing to be looked after by someone else. So if you're taking medication, you're already on the wrong track. So you need to start, always say to people, start thinking back, from your old people, your forefathers, your grandfather, why did they live so long, over 100 years, without any sickness?
One thing came into my mind when we spoke to that guy, Fundani. Well, just Manto Shabalala, Msimang.
Fundani Ndlovu's workspace is lined from floor to ceiling with anti-ARV messages. And a conversation with him is a buffet of vegetables and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
By the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, they control the education. They decide what we must learn. We are learning to be consumers. That's all what we are. So that when we consume, we can get sick. Why are we getting sick? They're making money. When we die, we vacate the land. So they got more land. If you're not eating godly food, basically like, as you can see on our table, this is what God made for human. Okay? So if you eat that, you'll be eating something real, so your body won't have anything wrong in it. So if you're eating what's there, it's all processed.
So you're simply saying if we just eat vegetables, no processed food, then no one will ever get sick?
Nobody will ever get sick.
So what is the government doing about these so-called HIV cures? We went to ask the Allied Health Professions Council.
Any of the other practitioners that are in this particular field. Until now, complementary medicines have not been regulated. But we are, at the moment, draft regulations for complementary medicines and guidelines for quality, safety and efficacy have been published by the Minister of Health and the Registrar of the Medicines Control Council of the Department of Health, respectively, and the constitutional process that is required to be followed is such that the comment period for stakeholder comment will close on the 30th of November, and the Department of Health and the Registrar of the MCC will then take into account all the stakeholder comments and then adjust their draft regulations and their guidelines accordingly.
Yet the government has been trying to regulate alternative medicines since 2004, and the law keeps stalling. And when it finally goes through, about 150,000 alternative medicines will have to be tested. Until then, it's a free-for-all.
If we carry on like this with these people claiming that they have a cure, they are encouraging reckless living, one, they are encouraging people to default onto treatment, and they are accelerating the illnesses that we have. So I think really the government needs to sit down and look at another way to deal with all these people and another way to take better care of the South African community, because they deserve better than what they are getting at the moment.
Now, I'd like to get your views on this issue. Should the law be changed to increase government regulation of non-drug treatments like vitamin supplements? And how should the government deal with the promises made by these purveyors of alternative therapies? Please send me your comments via email, Facebook, as well as Twitter. And as per usual, I'll be taking your calls on my radio show. That's SAFM's Afternoon Talk on Friday at 2 p.m. And if you wish to re-look at a previous show, you can now access it on the SABC News website. That's sabc.co.za/news. Well, that's it for tonight. Join us next week for another edition of Special Assignment when we point out the issues that matter.